Hi, welcome to Bullet Point Bulletins. I'm Bruce Burke. We're welcome to the weekly wrap-up show. I'm here with my good friend and co-host Ted Huff from Fintech Confidential, and they also happen to be our sponsor. Bullet Point Bulletin currently has some limited sponsorship opportunities for both our daily episodes and the longer weekly wrap-up here like we're doing with Ted. If you'd like information on any of these, please reach out to me directly on any of the social media channels. I'm at Bruce Burke right here on YouTube. Now I'm going to turn it over to Ted, and he's going to tell everyone, what are we talking about today, Ted?
Hey, Bruce. Man, I'm feeling so much better. It's been a couple of weeks of feeling a little bit out under the weather. But this week, we're going to be talking about Reddit's NFT avatar initiative surpassing 5 million minted collectibles, despite all of the market challenges. We're also going to be talking about Visa teasing their Ethereum collaboration. And they've said that they want to actively contribute to crypto development. What that means, we'll have to find out. Then we talk about neobank Cogni rolling out a Web3 wallet. And just as fintech firms continue to make that crypto push, then Polygon founder unveils a Web3 accelerator. Then we have JPMorgan that spends $800 million in a stake of Viva Wallet. And last but not least, we're going to close it back up with some more NFTs and talk about the Activision executive joining Yuga Labs. And Yuga Labs, for those who don't know, that is the Bored Apes NFT powerhouse juggernaut. And please stay tuned to the very end so we can hear us talk about what this really means. So, Bruce, why don't we just jump right into it when we talk about why Reddit's NFT avatar initiative is so important to the conversation?
Okay, I think that's a great place to start. It's the most recent story. I just put that out this morning before the show. To me, I did a report on this earlier when I think they were at the 2.5 million mark or something like that. And although most of it is giveaway and most of it is freebies, just to get the uptake, what's important to me is the simplification that they've done to optimize adoption.
Yeah, and I think one of the key things that we always talk about, and I'm pulling this up here, the key thing that we talk about when we start talking about NFTs and Web3 and crypto, it's super important for everybody to understand is like the whole thing around the Web3 is about building communities of people, of like-minded that want to contribute to something bigger than themselves. And this just really shows how big that Reddit community really is. You know, they did the initial announcement in July, and then we look at here that they'd revealed over 3 million Polygon wallets were created. And I think we covered this back a few weeks ago as well. And then on December 3rd, they started hitting these records. It's really crazy. And one of the really things that I really like about the way this has turned out is that they've really focused in on making sure that people, and I'll just, the phrase that I love here that they have here, snake oil, is that they've really focused in on making sure that this wasn't some snake oil scam or a rug pull. They really have built this around the community. And that is something that's important as you look at all these NFTs. Who is it built for? Why is it built for them? And is it just a piece of art, or is it something to build out a bigger community? Now, this is one of the things that I talked about a lot with the folks from, oh my gosh, my brain just went blank.
It's the day after Christmas.
No lie. Yeah, really. But, you know, I talked about this in one of the episodes of Fintech Confidential with Zen Sports or Zen Sportsia and Mark and team over there. And really the idea when they built out Zen Sportsia, which is a metaverse Web3 type solution, was to create a community where the athletes could participate. You know, the guys that they're doing the betting on Zen Sports could participate. You could get additional things to play the sports inside of Zensportsia and all that fun stuff. And that's really what this is about. And I think Reddit has done a really good job of pulling their community together with this.
Well, it's funny that you zero in on the snake oil quotation there. When I was writing my script, I take it from an article and I kind of rewrite it to write my script. And I had snake oil in there originally, and then I edited it out and I replaced it with exactly the words you said, rug pull. And then I took that out and I just put scams, right? Because there's a lot of different ones, right? I was just like, let's just go with scams, right? But the important thing is, to me, is they're taking a Web 2 platform. Reddit is definitely Web 2, right? It popularized in Web 2 and came up through Web 2. But it's now using, just like Starbucks, and it's funny that both Starbucks is retrofitting their platform and Reddit's kind of retrofitting their platform, and they're both using the Polygon platform to kind of retrofit their platform and kind of use that as a gateway into Web3 and bring people into doing Web3 things without even really realizing maybe that they're doing it. Maybe they just think they're getting a cool collectible profile picture. Yeah. Maybe they don't consider it a non-fungible token in their head. Maybe they don't think about the gas fees that they have to use to get it. Maybe they aren't worried about, have to worry about, creating a wallet and MetaMask and, all this stuff. They simplified the whole process for these people. And it says they intentionally stayed away from jargon and use very familiar terms.
Yeah, and I mean, you hit on another piece, right? So this is about Starbucks creating loyalty, creating their community, doing things that specifically are going to provide value, whether it's monetary value or intrinsic value. And they're both doing that, and they're doing it for their community. It's not about creating a brand new community. It's not about creating a value transfer, a monetary value transfer. It's really about just nurturing those communities.
Listen, you introduce them to it, and it said there's 4.25 million wallets, and there's 5 million PFPs, right? So, some of them have a couple more, which means they're probably buying or collecting the whole set, catch them all kind of a thing, but you got to think that some people are starting to buy and sell and trade and do other things with them. And there's got to be some high ranking ones, and it's only a matter of time. It's already saying that if you have one of these things, you've got social clout in your subreddit, right? You're the king ape, so to speak, right? And so it's only a matter of time before you get other capabilities beyond mortal men, by having an NFT. That's what maybe there was, I think, 3 collections. Maybe there's been 4 released now, but I think there was 3 different collections that were 10,000 each. So there is duplicates of apparently the profile pics, the different ones.
So almost the electronic version of collecting card trading is what it starts to sound like. And y'all really look, as you mentioned, like the Web 2 retrofitting in. One of the biggest, even pre-web companies, Visa, decided to tease that they're going to team up or collaborate with the Ethereum blockchain to contribute to crypto development. I thought it was really interesting all of these traditional credit card brands have a huge crypto Web3 conglomerate in each one of them. So it's not just Visa, but you've got MasterCard and Discover, American Express, not as much, but they're still in there. Are really starting to play in these spaces a lot. And piece that I caught in this article is that they're looking at the potential of using crypto as a means of ongoing recurring transactions. But one of the big things that got kicked into this article, and I always love when they jump into these things, but we start to see that this all started from a hackathon that Visa had that said, hey, help us figure out how to stay relevant in crypto and Web3 as a company.
Innovation doesn't happen from within; it happens from without.
Yeah, outside of the four walls, right? So
absolutely, there's no R&D anywhere at any companies anymore. Even companies that specialized in R&D no longer specialize in R&D. They're bringing in hackathons to do their R&D for them.
Well, they've almost taken up like the music industry approach of going out and finding the talent, and going out and finding the technology and going out and finding those and figuring out how do I bring them up underneath of my umbrella so that I can continue to nurture them to go the direction that I want them to go instead of maybe a competitor or somebody else doing that. And you see a lot of that happen. I mean, that's why these guys, Visa's a good example, is Square, point of sale system. Visa had a huge investment into them. And so that's one of the things that really drove them forward, is really that mobile point of sale type stuff. But getting back into this piece of it, I think it's really interesting that they talk about it. And in this article, they even say one of the big things, if you look here, so Catherine
Gu. Yeah, Catherine Gu. I met her a while back. I think it was at Money 2020 during that thing where Brett King was speaking. It was the Click-a-Tell event. I met her there. She was there. A very, very nice woman. Very, very, very informed.
But I think she talks about it here. The best way to learn is by actually doing, and that's what they're diving into this. But the other piece that really poked out at me, where is it at? Basically, they talked about how long in scalability.
This is not a next week thing that's going to happen. This is going to be a long-term project that they're looking at. Long-term perspective, I think, was the actual term.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking at it, and the biggest piece is that if you look at the speed in which things happen in the traditional payment networks, and then you compare it to the way that proof of work is working in Ethereum, it's a much slower transaction when you're in the proof of work versus the traditional payments network. And you might get a little extra speed when you get into proof of stake, but it still doesn't approach the same speed as your traditional networks. And I think there's going to be a few more things that happen so that it can continue to scale, so that it's a near instant transaction like what we have with the card brands today in the traditional rails.
It looks like what they're trying to do. This isn't the thing that they're interested in, that this white paper is around, isn't something that's on the Ethereum mainnet now. It's something that could be, it's essentially a smart contract. And what it would allow someone to do is schedule recurring payments, say a car payment or a mortgage payment or something. But that payment would come out of a cold, air-gapped wallet. So it would be, there would be some kind of schedule set up, and that smart contract would be set into that cold wallet, and that cold wallet would release to the companion app on your smartphone or whatever other device that you have. And then that device would make the payment down the Visa rails, I'm guessing. And, everybody lives happily ever after there,
Yeah. And here I finally found the piece that we were talking about here. Where we talk about, it's a much longer term perspective. It may have some utility, and they're there really to investigate and do research and figure out how it all plays into this. One of the things that they don't mention in any of these documents that I did the research on is storage, right? I mean, you mentioned the cold wallet, but how are they going to play with all of the different wallets that are out there? I mean, obviously they had been working with FTX until everything kind of imploded there. But they were thinking about centralized They're taking the decentralized idea into a centralized network. And so I think they're going to have to figure out how do we get outside of that and really play in the decentralized and kind of be that. I can see them being the bridge between the decentralized monetary side of the house and the centralized. I can see them playing that. They kind of do that today, is that mediary. And, you know, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover may become our next version of a crypto exchange. That's my perspective. But
I can see that.
They're trusted. They're known. They've been around forever. And if they can figure out the technology...
They're not a bank. They're a third-party intermediary, essentially, is what they are. So who better to be that exchange than those people that you've trusted all these years to be your credit partner? You know, I mean, seriously, you know, they're all trusted brands. Even the least of them, Discover, is still a very, very trusted brand. It's not as well known. It's just, you know, but it is as well trusted, I believe, you know.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, with us talking about Visa getting into the transference of Ethereum and other cryptos, you know, we Neobank, Cogni rolled out their Web3 wallet, and I probably should stop this. You know, Cogni rolled out their Web3 wallet. They continue to push into this space. You know, what are your thoughts on where they're going with this wallet? Because it seems to be like just a little bit more of the same thing, just a different provider.
It's a little bit different in that it's a decentralized wallet, apparently. And I don't know how you do a decentralized wallet if it's an application on your phone or if it's just a web wallet. I'm not really sure how that works, but apparently you're going to be able to see it's mixed right in with the checking account, and you're going to be able to see your on-chain interactions as well as right next to your checks and your bills and your credit cards and everything else. And they're going to issue a debit card, of course, right? And some of the things that make it a little more Web3 is they're going to use PFPs, right? They're going to use NFTs as profile pics if you want to display one. That seems to be kind of a thing. The Stacks wallet is doing that on the cover, right? The one we were just talking about, Reddit, you know, they're doing the PFPs, right? I just saw Instagram today is PFPs just now, just before we came on. You know, Merry Christmas. And we hope you don't lose it by New Year.
Yeah, really. Well, and I mean, and if you look at this, I mean, this was Cogni was founded out of the Barclays Accelerator program. So it's a banking first focus type product. They just raised $23 million in funding recently to bring the Web 2 and Web 3 services together, which we're talking about. You know, they had, this is the one I find funny, is the FTX Ventures is included in this still. So
that takes that 25 down to like what, 10 now?
Well, you have Solana and then FTX. So I think once you take those out, you know. Okay,
whatever. So maybe 5 million they got now, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, really looking at it, you know, as he says here, crypto was not part of their original agenda. No,
they started as like a traditional banking type of wallet thing, and they spun into Web3 and following Revolut and N26 and what's the other one, Step App. They all kind of said, "Hey, well, this is where the big boys are going, right? Let's follow their footsteps, you know."
Well, and if you look at a lot of these, and this is some of the things that I talk to a lot of financial institutions about, they're all trying to figure out how do we leverage the forward movement in digital assets. We already have physical assets, we have financial assets, we have investment assets. How different is this, and how can we participate in this as the trusted source or the trusted partner that can maintain this and hold on to it and maintain
our relevancy? Yeah, but there's a lot of maintaining relevancy. Even thinking back to the previous story, I think Visa's involvement in essentially writing protocols and being a part of a protocol written is to write themselves into the transactional gymnastics that are going to occur in order for the payment to go through. And I think that's exactly what Barclays is doing here. All of them are very interested in they've gotten behind the I think they've gotten beyond the what I would call the spectator phase of watching cryptocurrency. I think they watched it for a while and they looked at it and they said, no, let them all go out to the Wild West and shoot each other in the main street and everything, right? And and tear up the towns and then throw some ghost towns together. But now that they're going through that, they're saying, hey, some of this stuff that we heard about along the way and some of these things and concepts that these guys came up with might be good, but let's apply them how we would apply them rather than how they would apply them.
Well, and that is the standard approach is, how do I use this technology within the financial infrastructure and structures that I have now, whether it be for banking, money movement, and look at the rules that have been created for that and figure out how to create these new technology products inside of that architecture. And because if you're playing in that architecture, you know that if you can follow the rules using the new technology in that architecture, you're going to be able to move a lot faster. And you don't have to wait for the government agencies, all the 3-letter agencies or 4-letter agencies, to determine what is, what isn't, when it applies, when it doesn't apply. Because if you come in and say, I'm treating it like X because of Y and Z, then they're going to be more apt to play with you versus try and fight you. And I think that's a really smart approach. And a number of projects that I've worked on also take the same approach when they're looking at stable coins or they're looking at funds transfer using stable coins. They're like, hey, wait a second. Let me treat this stable coin exactly the same way that I would treat a US dollar, a euro, a Mexican peso, whatever it is. I'm going to treat it the exact same way. And whatever the rules are on the sending financial institution in order to send the money, I'm going to follow those rules. And any of the rules on receiving money on the receiving financial institution, I'm going to follow those rules. So now I'm following the rules on both sides of the chain. And now all I am is a transfer protocol to speed up and to be able to track things more detailed. And I think that's the type of stuff that we're starting to see when we talk about the Visa and we talk about the Cogni and we talk about a handful of other items. I mean, I think that's a big piece of
the speed, but also the biggest thing in the article, the quote from Catherine Gu was, right now, none of the blockchain networks, can send payments at the scale and speed that we would really require, right? With the security measures put in also. So in doing this, they want to start off with essentially scheduled payments, right? Weeks out in advance, months out in advance, years out in advance, and
so they
cases,
can time
right?
it perfectly, right? And so that's going to be probably the only way, and I should say the only way, but one of the most successful ways for you to get crypto payments into the retail sector. And I think the use of stablecoin in a wholesale perspective, like what we've seen with JPMorgan doing over oh my gosh, I just forgot what they're called, but the short-term
Onyx,
loans.
you talking about the Onyx network?
Yeah, using Onyx. And we talked about it a couple of weeks ago where it's that short-term loan that's only meant to be there for a couple hours.
Oh, the repos,
right?
yeah. The repos, the overnight repos, yeah.
So, we talk about the repos. That's a good use case. We talk about moving large amounts of money from one region to another. That's another great use case. Most of these are very wholesale level, business to business type transactions, that this is fantastic because you control it and you can have all these rules behind it and all these different pieces and parts. When you get to retail, it's a lot more complicated because you're talking about
it's a lot of one-off
amounts.
stuff with retail, right? Because one buyer may be coming by and buying a pair of shoelaces, and then the next guy's buying enough appliances to fill 3 houses. You know what I mean?
Right.
You never know what somebody's picking up at the store, right?
And you have to go down to the lowest common denominator. And so what these guys are trying to figure out is like, how can I? And this is going to sound funny. I want to buy a single pack of gum using crypto. How do I do that and make sure that it's the same experience that I have today when I use a card, when I use cash? How do I get that same speed of interaction and that comfort buying a pack of gum using crypto? And I think that's
that good
kind of
old
where
dollar and cents feel, right? That good old the feeling of exchanging cold hard currency,
right.
That satisfaction of buying something.
Well, and if you look at it, also the security of knowing, as a business, I want the security of knowing that when I do the crypto, it's the same as someone handing me a physical piece of currency. Like if the only real-time form of payment, so this is the funny part, the only real-time form of payment is when I hand somebody a piece of paper currency or coin in physical. That's the only real-time transaction you can ever have because it doesn't change hands until I put it in their hand. Yeah. Now, everything else is just a subset of that. But as a business, I want to know that when I get paid with the crypto, that I'm actually going to get paid.
Schrödinger's transaction, is that what we're talking about here?
but you have
when am I actually getting paid? Am I getting paid when I'm in the box, or right?
Right. Well, but we built up the trust with these card networks over the years, and they put all these rules in place, and the CFPB has put things in place as well. So we've got like all of these fail safes, and I think until everybody figures out how do we get it to fit in that box, as you just mentioned. We're going to struggle a little bit, but I think we're going to learn a lot from the business to business side of the house. That's going to fuel a lot of this stuff. The large transactions, figuring out how to manage that, it's going to be a big piece of it. But at the same time, we have folks like JPMorgan that buy an $800 million stake in a European wallet called Viva, and really start to head the direction of how do we play in this space in a slightly different way?
While you're pulling that up, I wanted to talk quickly about Cogni. Maybe the Reddit giving away PFPs to get people into Web3. Maybe Cogni showing you your on-chain. Boy, that's a mouthful. On-chain transactions right next to your debit card and your, ATM card and your online bill pay. Maybe that's a really good way to get you used to feeling that same trust. You're seeing your wallet, within your wallet, essentially, right? And maybe that's a good way to see it. But moving on,
so
you're on the Cogni thing here.
And we're back over here to JPMorgan.
There you go.
The Viva Wallet.
Huge company. I've never heard of them. Huge company. They're apparently tremendous in Europe. I've never heard of them in my entire fintech career until this story.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that 800 million gets them a 48.5% stake in this product. So, this is really, obviously JPMorgan hasn't, but they announced in January they agreed to do it. It looks like that finally closed.
There was 3 different companies that they got that 48.5%, 3 minority stakeholders that all combined the shares to come into that amount. And I guess they're paying X amount per share to those shareholders, and it's just a flat deal that way. But there was rumblings about it on the Sunday night before or the Monday night before, and then Tuesday they actually came out with a press release. But the story was kind of released before the physical press release came out.
Yeah, and so like I have here, you have the Latsis Family Office, 13%, British Fund, Head of Sophia at 24%, and DECA Investments with about 10%. So it looks like Chase just led the round of investment and really didn't do the investment directly themselves. But I mean, you can see the size of this. There are 23 countries across Europe. They do acceptance services through their point of sale application. So, when you start to look at companies that have their own point of sale application, they have Google Play devices and advanced payment systems online. So really what they're doing, this is
they got the triple play. They've got the modernization of payments in Europe going on. They've got, touch your phones together like the iPhone can do now, right? They've got to touch your card to your iPhone. They've got to touch your phone to the terminal. They've got your touch your phone to the turnstile at the transit. They've got all those. And if you got an online store, they got a WooCommerce, I guess, something like that plug-in type of a thing, So
they've got the one click for online shopping. So it just uses your preferred thing. They've got hey, I go into a business and they're using the same point of sale as my Viva Wallet. So I have Viva POS and I have Viva Wallet. Okay, so now I just close that ecosystem. Now I have tap to pay. So when I need to tap to pay, I can do that through my Viva Wallet. And so then it starts to turn into kind of a neobank type scenario. But if you look back, couple weeks ago, we talked about JPMorgan getting a trademark on the JPMorgan wallet. Now we see that they make this investment in Viva Wallet. Now, if you also look at this, JPMorgan has the JP coin. So then you start looking at the whole idea around this is they had the JP wallet, by the way. So if you remember, there was JP Pay, which was supposed to be a direct competitor to Apple Pay and Google Pay and all that fun stuff. They learned a lot in that space, which probably drove them to somebody like Viva here that has done it and was more successful than they were. It's a totally different model, but still they were more successful. And wait a second. JP Morgan has done a lot in digital assets as well. So I'm wondering if we go back to what we talked about with Cogni, we go back to what we talked about Visa, we go back to what we talked about with Reddit's NFT. What we're seeing here is they're trying to build a community that brings it all together into one place. So
there's also a card that Viva issues. So they're a card issuer also, and through MasterCard and JPMorgan MasterCard. At many times in putting together a lot of these different stories, I started to see the overlap, but I did not see that overlap that you just saw between the JP wallet and the Viva Wallet. That's very interesting thought there. And Europe is doing a central bank digital currency at the same time, right? So the JP coin could be the back end coin for that.
Right.
Just saying.
And the reason why I bring up the JP
not
coin,
saying that's the truth. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
Well, and the reason why I bring up the JP coin is the simple fact is that they've learned how to use that in the mass uses like we talked about, either with the repos and all the other different stuff, right? And that gives them an understanding of how to guide the regulators in Europe around the CBDCs that they're talking about. And so, you kind of get this whole movement of everybody starting to play, and I'm really starting to see these things start to come together into one place, which I thought was very, very interesting. But man, I feel like we've talked
it's
a lot
funny
about
that you
banking
plugged
today.
those two together. That's a really interesting take on all that. Okay. I'll have to watch for threads. You know me, I watch for threads and then bring them all together, right? So
yeah. So I mean, so we've got a couple more stories, and let's hop into the Polygon founder unveiling the accelerator beacon, and just kind of interesting the way that they're approaching this. It kind of reminds me of the traditional like Y Combinator type thing, but totally focused 100% on Web3. What are your thoughts, Bruce?
They said they wanted to produce the next 100 unicorns, Web3 unicorns. And he says that they've already got a cadre going out. They've got their first cohort. And he said his greatest experience and where he got the most value of being a startup was the other people that he worked with. And that's where he really got the ideas, the help, the encouragement, all that sort of thing. And he thinks as they go along and they have more alumni like Y Combinator, right? And everybody else, those mentors and those alumni can help those people along. And some of the things that they're doing that's a little bit different is they're creating their own software platform. So everybody can have a community and they can join it. They can interact. The investors can just watch a pitch rather than having, it's funny. Their first cohort is all, non-touch, non-contact. What's the word I'm looking for? Anyway. But they're interconnecting everybody digitally through apps, and the investors watch pitch videos. Then they can request a contact if they're interested, and so it's all remote oriented. It doesn't require going to the pitch fest anymore and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, and there are a handful of software companies that have done that in the past. I have to look them up, and maybe we'll drop them into the show notes that are approaching it similarly, where they put the pitches up on a network, like a YouTube channel, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah, pitch tube, right?
Yeah, really. And it really comes into that. One of the things I thought was interesting about this is A16Z, or Andreessen Horowitz, is participating in this. And one of the keywords the things that I thought was really interesting, I'll just kind of look at this phrase here. I'm trying to highlight it there we go. The fact that they say the crypto bull markets attract the buyers and the bear markets attract the solution providers, or the people solving the problems, and really allows for there to be value added versus just speculation. And so the timing of him launching Beacon is fantastic, because it's not when everything is going up. So there's going to be fewer fly-by-night style stuff. There are going to be people that really have a passion for things. And I think one of the things that he also talks here, and I like this phrase here, however we can support the best founders and accelerate projects serving real customer needs, adoption will happen. It's inevitable. And that's a good way of saying what I just said a moment ago, is that, building out these products, this is a time where you can't just decide to build a meme software and everybody jump on board because it's the coolest thing and they've got extra cash rolling around, and interest rates
there's no extra cash flowing in the channels right now. The interesting thing is this is one piece of a $50 billion let's call it a VC/incubator accelerator kind of thing that he started. I forget the name of that. It's towards the top of the article. But Polygon, again, I mean, when you want to look at Web3 and what's going, right? You look at Yuga Labs, you look at, Animoca, right? You look at, Polygon, and there's a few others, Ethereum, right? That's something new, right? But these companies, instead of go buying an NFT you hear about or something like that, see if you can get involved in companies like this, companies that are obviously very focused and growing and having a lot of success. I mean, Polygon's having a lot of success in kind of being a ramp up to Web3 kind of a company, helping those Web2 companies get involved in Web3, it seems like. And I think that's a company to watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the major piece that I'm seeing with Polygon, if you compare it to others, right? So you have Polygon isn't the anti anything. They are the all for extending the reach, expanding into places, bringing everybody together. Yeah. And if you compare it to other things in the market,
yeah, let's go.
Right, it's like all, high tides rise all boats, right? And I think that's the way that Polygon's been looking at it. Whereas if you look at other protocols, it may not be the same, and maybe it's like we are here to disrupt things, and Polygon is like we are here to take the next evolution of things. And I'm oversimplifying because there are others out in the marketplace that are doing that. But I think Polygon has been the one that has shown to be able to move forward the fastest in multiple realms with Web 2 and traditional businesses that others just haven't been able to do so far. And I'm going to say it that way, so far. I think we're going to see a few more that jump in, that get to the same level as Polygon. But I just think it's going to be a little bit of time.
When you have customers like Starbucks that are obviously already having a successful round with their thing without issue, right? You don't hear Polygon in the news with, bad headlines, their network's down, there's outages, there's this, there's that.
Right.
And then, then you got, Reddit, also a huge, 5 million NFTs, minted on that Polygon network. That has nothing to do with Reddit. That's just the Reddit, Redditors, I guess they call them, right?
Yeah.
So it's, it's a very stable, very solid platform, obviously, and obviously was built to scale because these big guys are jumping on and they're not having any problems. So, you got to look at that stuff. You got to look at those clues and say, this is a company to watch and this is a company that's going places,
Well, and so I'm going to pull this back up here just real quick. So, I mean, the fund you're talking about is Symbolic.
Symbolic Capital, yeah.
Yep, Symbolic Capital. That happened in August. They raised a $50 million fund. It continues to grow. So this is what was happened back then. But the whole idea again is that symbolic. That's kind of funny. I just thought about that. You see all these different things and really designed for the building of the new next generation. But that makes it really interesting.
To my credit, Beyond actually, what's it called? Beacon app, on Twitter. I posted the bullet point bulletin and Beacon app, liked the tweet. Thank you very much. Yes. They are paying attention. Even during the Christmas holidays, they saw the story about themselves and are paying attention and liked the tweet. So Thank you, Beacon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Beacon. So we talked about a bunch of different things. And so when we talk about communities of people, the one thing I want to bring up is thinking about why did Bored Ape or the Yuga Labs bring on a former video game executive to be their chief as their CEO. For some reason, I thought it was COO for a second. Why
went from COO to CEO is what happened.
So, Bruce, why do you think that they went to Activision to bring in somebody into Yuga Labs?
Well, in in doing these reports, as much as these things are only a minute long, it's hours sometimes to build these things because I find so many rabbit holes to go down. But this guy, what's his name, Allegre, he actually is friends with my buddy Ryan Holmes, but I didn't get a chance to connect with him yet. But he has been at a lot of different companies, served in a lot of different roles, but most recently in being at Activision, I mean, Activision is Blizzard, that's World of Warcraft, that's, Call of Duty, that's big titles with big communities, with, major merchandising, with international, appeal, with, I'm talking, these things are big projects and a lot of, these are billions, right? These aren't millions. These are billions. Yeah. And Yuga, as far as IP and, distinction, right? Having a brand and having that brand be very distinct and leveraging NFTs is kind of a licensing or branding license, so to speak, right? You're buying an ape and then you can do whatever you want with the ape. So imagine what somebody with a background like Activision and somebody that's, sold international licensing rights to Call of Duty and sold, that kind of stuff, that's big, man. That guy knows the stuff and he's been around a long time. He's not a young kid. I looked through his career and he's worked at a lot of places and sometimes not in the most glamorous positions, but he learned on his way up apparently. And, now commands a pretty nice salary, I imagine.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it this way, in March, Yuga Labs was valued at $4 billion and the A16Z did a huge investment in them of, I think, $450 million funding, as it says here, as part of the crypto fund. And Andreessen Horowitz is huge and super focused on crypto, Web3, NFT, all the stuff like digital assets. They're super focused on it. And I think when I started looking at this, my mind really went into the mode of, okay, so when you look at Activision, you look at all the titles you mentioned, World of Warcraft, that's a community of people. You look at all the other games that they have. Not only that, but he probably was getting ready to have a nice cash out when Microsoft was going to buy. And that got shut down.
Been killed now. That's
right.
Gone. They murdered that deal. So he probably got out at a really good time, to be quite honest with you. He may have known something. It may have been handwriting on the wall. He may have just read the in between the lines. But
read the tea leaves, yeah.
I can't imagine he took a cut and pay to go from a COO to CEO, especially of Yuga that's got A16Z behind him and those kind of pockets. I imagine he's taken a huge win there, and I can see how, because since they had such a hit with Bored Apes, they essentially have bought two of the other largest NFT success stories, CryptoPunks and what's the other one, MeBits, which I don't know anything about, but I have seen CryptoPunks only because the art is, that 8-bit stuff, and it's so what they call it, lo-fi, it's so interesting to me that they're, the video games of my childhood are now considered fine art,
So as I look at this, I think this is a way that Yuga Labs is looking at how do we expand our ecosystem beyond a Bored Ape being used as a social media profile picture? How do we get our stuff into more video games, movies, TV shows, cartoons, pillows on your couch, cooking mitts, a CryptoPunk cooking mitt, a chef's hat with a CryptoPunk on everything, right? Licensing rights. And I think that is really where they're going to be bringing bringing him in is really to figure out, how do we get into these markets? What's the best place to go? Where have these other franchises, really, as if you look at it, they're really franchises. Where have they been successful? What is the demographic of these people? What are the personas around this? And how do we leverage the things that we already have to really, I'm going to use this word, but exploit those opportunities for revenues? And it may even mean, hey, maybe you start to see, and this is one of the things I go back to Zen Sports and Mark over there, is that the idea is to be able to have add-ons. So what if Yuga Labs now starts building skins for these games that you can buy? That the skin is an NFT that then becomes that piece where you can trade the skins, and outside of World of Warcraft, outside of other games underneath of the Activision Blizzard moniker, right? So I think that is, from my perspective, that's what I would be wanting as a shareholder, is for them to figure out, how do I expand outside of just the fine art space? How do I
concept
of these things?
The concept of beat the boss, and then as you beat the boss of that level, I remember a kid on my way up to social mobile payments, Brian Wong. He was doing a thing where when you won at a certain point in the game, his company would come in and make an offer right on your win there. So in that moment of elation, here's an offer here's a free thing of pop chips, right? Here's and you remember that brand because you're in that elated moment, and that brand is right there in that elated moment. So think of, you just beat the boss, right? Maybe you're going to level 15, but you're on level 10, so you're almost there, right? You beat that boss, and then at that same time, well, here's an NFT, but if you want to enhance that even more, you can throw us, 2 or 3 ETH, right? And we're going to enhance that even more for you. And then you'll have a one-of-one rarity that you can take out to the marketplace after you finish the game, right? When you get to X goal, right? So you can essentially gamify the gamification, right? With NFTs. It's a what's the word? Exponent. It's an exponential of an exponent, right? It's another multiplier, and that's what you're looking for in these things.
I just think it's really cool that we're starting to see all of this movement, both on the way that it's funny. I was talking to somebody that does recruiting, they're recruiters, and if you're just in general technology, it's those are the folks that are getting hit hard with all these layoffs, just general technology. But if you want to go down fintech, there's a whole bunch of stuff available. If you want to go down gaming and fun, so you have fun tech and you have fintech, and those two markets are just exploding. So that's one of the things that we noticed as we were talking through that is, those two markets, they're gaming,
and people want to. I don't think people are ready to go into an alternate reality yet, but I think they're ready to go into a more fun reality than where they are currently. And I think this whole concept of, even as rinky-dink as I've seen Facebook's metaverse mask thing, right? With Sony's coming out with their VR too, right? Apple's coming out with their VR headset or MR reality headset, whatever they're going to call it. And it seems like after these last couple of years that have been kind of grueling for everybody as we started into the 2020s, right? It seems like people are kind of tired of the gruelingness, and they kind of want to have fun, and they kind of want to, after being locked down for a couple of years, they kind of want to blow up and escape and, have kind of just go have fun, nowadays. And I think this is this is the perfect time for the creator economy to bloom, and this is all part of it.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many things that fall behind all this stuff. Well, Bruce, that is our last one for this week, man.
No way. Already?
Yeah, already.
So we're going to talk about everything that's occurred with SBF since.
Let's not, please.
It could go on forever. It could go on forever.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So this is an SBF free zone this week. So you won't hear us talking about that.
The non-contagion zone.
Yeah. And in all honesty, I think the contagion spread has really started to slow down. Which I'm super happy to see. As you can see, like all the articles we're talking about this week are all about how to move forward, how to keep moving forward, how to continue to grow, and how to continue to build out the next level. I think everybody's tired of talking about things that have gone wrong, and they're ready to do things on that next level.
And these companies that we're talking about, we're talking here about Visa. We're talking about JPMorgan Chase. We're talking about, what's the other one? Barclays, right?
Barclays.
Yeah. Polygon. All these companies are doing and going and being, and they're all putting a big toe into Web3. Let's call it that.
I don't even think it's a toe.
They got a foot in?
I think they've got like
ankle deep.
No, they're not ankle deep yet. I think they're just about to put the toe in the water, because even if you look at Visa, they don't even have a toe in the water at this point. They're just asking people, what's the temperature of the water?
That's true.
Is it hot? Is it cold? Like, is it wet? Is it dry? Like, I think that's where Visa's at right now. And then with JPMorgan and Barclays and all the stuff, they're like, that's a really nice pool. Hey, I'm thinking about possibly getting into that pool. Can I pay to sit on the deck of the pool? I was going to jump into that pool, but then I heard about all those scams in that pool, so I didn't jump into that pool. I think everybody is acknowledging that there's a pool there. And I think everybody's at a different point of getting into the pool. But like JPMorgan and Viva, I think that is hey, we've arrived at the pool. We arrived and we're looking at it from far, far away. Yeah. You look at Cogni and you're looking at Barclays in that perspective, and they're like, okay, cool. So we're going to sit in the lounger over here. Mm-hmm. And then you have
on the
Visa,
far corner of the pool deck with the umbrella, and pretend like we don't see what's, we're not actively watching the pool. We're just getting some sun. We're not watching the people in the pool. We're just laying here getting some sun.
And I think Visa is standing at the high dive board asking everybody, is it really that high? Is it really that scary? Do you think it's something I could do? Do you think I should do it? And I think that's kind of where these guys are sitting for this week's discussion.
It's interesting in looking back at it all. Almost all of the things that we talked about this week are all being funded by quote unquote venture capital. None of these things are really being funded by companies that were already making money from them. Reddit probably the closest, but I don't understand how Reddit makes money other than advertising. I never understood their business model, but I've never even actually used them, to be quite honest. I know everybody's shocked by that, but I don't use Reddit. Never have. It's probably too many rabbit holes for me to go down. But I find it interesting, and almost all this stuff is venture oriented and new and starting new. And, for a while there in fintech, it was kind of the same old stuff for a while. I find this stuff very interesting because I think this stuff is going to be adopted. I think people want this fun. I think they want fun money. They're tired of boring, stale cash. You know what I mean? They want fun money. They want their money to do things. They want their money to entertain them. They buy tokens for entertainment, for God's sakes. They're not buying it. I bought some SHIB, right? It's not an investment. It's like getting a shot at the bar. You know what I mean? It's like buying a pair of sneakers. I got an ape. Hey, look, it's cute. Hey, look at this. I got an ape,
So my wife is pretty pretty big into Disney, right? And if you look at it, to me, I look at some of these meme coins really to be more like at Disney, they do pin trading. So they get pins and they trade the pins. There's also coin trading, right? So they get these coins with all these intricate designs that are minted and all this stuff, and they're limited editions. And, you know, you can get these things and you get a starter pack. And I really see, you know, some of the stuff around NFT really being the digital version of that. And I can see there being a tie between the physical and the digital, as we're seeing some of these financial institutions do as well, tying a digital asset to a physical asset. But man, we could go into that for days.
Yeah, let's not go down this rabbit hole. I think we did a pretty good job covering it here. What I would like to do for a future episode is maybe dig into just something like this, like how is the Web3 changing traditional finance, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you know, some concrete examples beyond just a news story, right? Some more sentiment and foundational thought stuff, you know, thought leadership kind of ideas, right? Around how Web3 is changing traditional finance and why, right? What are the factors that are driving it? That kind of thing, rather than just the news story and the deals and the brands you know.
And there are a number of folks that, you know, that we could bring on and have that discussion with, but let's put a pin in that piece of it. You know, this has been this has been a great recap. As always, I have tons of fun with this. I'm gonna go into my pitch, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe both to Bullet Point Bulletins, Bruce Burke, Ted Huff, Fintech Confidential. Just go ahead, like, subscribe, comment. Tell us what you want to hear about. Is there an article or is there something? Just reach out to us. Let us know if you have a news story that you want us to make sure that we cover. And we'll take a look at it. And if it fits in the week, we'll go ahead and we'll make it happen. And we'll even call you out for submitting that. So we really appreciate some help and some interaction on this stuff. And as always, Bruce, I appreciate you being on. I appreciate having this discussion. It's always fun. It's one of the things that I look forward to every week. But yeah, man, I'll hand it over to you to sign us off.
Okay, thanks, Ted. For me, from my end, you can watch any of our daily episodes, both on Fintech Confidential's YouTube channel or my channel at Bruce Burke on YouTube. Also posting them to dozens, hundreds maybe of LinkedIn groups and on your favorite Insta. We're on everywhere. I'm posting these things everywhere. But we are looking for some limited sponsors for both the daily episodes going into the new year and some of the new longer form videos that we're going to be doing on different topics. But we're going to sign it off. Hope everybody had a great Christmas. Happy holidays to everybody. Happy New Year. Will we have another episode before the new year, or how does that work on the calendar, Ted?
You know what? I haven't even looked at the calendar.
I don't even know. I know it's Monday today. That's it.
I think our next episode that we record is actually on New Year's Day.
It's New Year's Day. Okay, great. 2023. We'll start it off.
This is the last one for 2022, man.
All right. So we I think we've got 6 in the can now. I think this is our 6th episode. We're doing really well with staying on schedule despite people being out of town or whatever. We're doing well. So start subscribing, folks, and start liking us and watching us and stuff too. You know,
if you're enjoying it. Definitely.
We're putting it out there, you know, and we enjoy doing this, and we hope you enjoy it. And we look forward to your feedback. Like Ted said, if you have an article or a point of discussion or a perspective that you'd like to share, you know, let us know, and we'll be happy to mention you in the episode that you were the one that suggested the topic.
So have a great week. Be sure to catch us on all the socials with all the Bullet Point Bulletins. And then next week with the wrap up on January 1st.
All right. January 1st, 2023.
There
Thanks,
we go.
everybody. Thanks, Ted. Have a great day. All the best.
Same to you, man.